As much as we'd love it to be real, Doctor Who is unfortunately just a TV show. It's filmed on a set, features actors, and the monsters and villains are just people in rubber suits. Sorry to break it to you. But sometimes what goes into making a scene in real life is far more interesting than what ends up transmitted on screen. And so with that in mind, I'm Ellie with Who Culture, here with 10 Doctor Who scenes even more impressive when you know the truth. Number 10. Dubai Disaster. With New Who on sabbatical following its 4th series, the producers could afford to push the boat out with a handful of specials in 2009. And one such special was Planet of the Dead, broadcast over the Easter period. It involved the Doctor and a bus full of people being stranded on a desert planet. As if that wasn't bad enough, they were also stalked by a pack of flying, ravenous stingrays. Public transport. What a nightmare! To achieve a more realistic feel for the episode, it was shot in Dubai, but this meant transporting a double-decker London bus all the way out to the Middle East, which went about as well as could be expected. The bus was seriously damaged in transit when a container was accidentally dropped on it. After losing their minds for a while, the crew decided to simply incorporate the damage into the story, explaining that the bus was damaged when it travelled through the portal. It would have looked weird if the bus was pristine, so this accident actually improved the episode. Number 9. Manning's Mishaps. Katie Manning's original stint as companion Jo Grant stretched from 1971 to 1973, and though she undoubtedly enjoyed her time on the show, it was incredibly difficult to film at times. Not because of the long hours, the technobabble, or the endless quarries, but because she could barely see where she was going. Manning suffered from extreme short-sightedness, and since she wasn't allowed to wear the thick glasses which aided her vision, she would often lose track of her surroundings. In fact, while filming her debut story, Terror of the Autons, she ran straight into a rock and twisted her ankle. In Manning's own words, this forced Jon Pertwee to start leading me around like a mother hen in order to avoid her injuring herself constantly. The master himself, Roger Delgado, also helped Manning in a similar way. So next time you're watching the Third Doctor pull Jo around by hand, it's likely that what you're actually seeing is Pertwee taking care of his co-star. What a gent. Number 8. First Doctor Doppelganger. Doctors past, present and future combining forces to save Gallifrey is an all-time great Doctor Who moment, especially when you think about how tricky it must have been to pull off. Finding suitable archive clips for every single Doctor, piecing all their disparate lines together to make them fit the scene, it's enough to give you a headache just thinking about it. But as impressive as the scene is, there's one particular element that makes it even more impressive than you realise. Though most of the dialogue was indeed plucked from prior episodes, there's one notable exception. Because Gallifrey wasn't spoken on screen until the Third Doctor's era, the First Doctor's line calling the War Council of Gallifrey, "This is the Doctor," wasn't possible to create with William Hartnell's voice. And with Hartnell having passed away in the 70s, he wasn't around to record it afresh. So the production recruited voice artist John Guyler, whose First Doctor impression is so uncanny that it fits seamlessly into the scene, and you never even notice that you're actually listening to an impersonator. Another fun quirk in this sequence revolves around the 7th Doctor. Due to his footage being pulled from both his original run and the 1996 TV movie, his age, costume and TARDIS interior inexplicably change halfway through. Wibbly wobbly indeed. Number 7. Prop Master Bond. There are countless Doctor Who props with interesting stories behind them, but arguably none more so than this. 4th Doctor serial Revenge of the Cybermen features a secret radio transmitter used by Kelman, which is disguised as a clothes brush. It's an unassuming device and you wouldn't think there's anything special about it, but this little prop had quite the journey en route to its Doctor Who role. This exact same prop was used in the James Bond film Live and Let Die, which released 2 years prior, but even better, it was actually given to the BBC by Roger Moore himself. The prop master offered to pay 2 shillings and 6pence for the item, which is around 12p today. Still, Moore gleefully accepted, telling the Radio Times that "I popped into the Beeb for a cup of tea. I didn't expect to walk out with 2 and 6. Wherever the prop is, it will undoubtedly be worth more today, especially considering that Tom Baker actually picks it up in Revenge of the Cybermen, which no doubt increased its value. Number 6. A very old friend. Towards the end of Jodie Whittaker's final outing, The Power of the Doctor, Yaz joins a support group of former companions who share stories of their adventures through time and space. Present at the meeting are Yaz's friends Graham and Dan, alongside seasoned veterans like Grace, Tegan, Joe, Mel, Kate, and Ian. Played by William Russell, Ian appeared in the very first episode of Doctor Who back in 1963 as one of the first humans to travel back in time in the TARDIS. He left the show in 1965, making it a whopping 57 years before he returned in The Power of the Doctor. Now, we covered that 57-year hiatus in our video about the longest gaps between Doctor Who character appearances, but one detail we didn't mention, which somehow makes the scene even more impressive, is that Russell also broke the Guinness World Record for the longest gap between TV appearances. His return was truly heartwarming, as most of the other cast members from that first episode are sadly no longer around. However, Ian's still here, alive and kicking. Are we sure he isn't a real Time Lord? Number 5. 11 grabs a bite. Whenever there's a scene in a TV show that involves inflicting pain on a character, you'd rightfully assume that the entire thing was faked. But in one particular case in Doctor Who's 5th series, you'd be wrong. Amy Pond does not have a nice day out in the time of angels and flesh and stone, with the dastardly angel Bob gleefully informing the 11th Doctor that there's something in her eye. That something being a weeping angel. Not great. This angel sends Amy on a massive trip with dust pouring from her eye and an ominous countdown leading to her death. At one point, it also appears to turn her hand into stone, locking her in place. Proving that it's just a trick though, the Doctor bites her hand, and the shock of this action allows her to move it. What you probably didn't know is that Matt Smith completely and utterly bit Karen Gillan's hand in this scene, as revealed by the actress on the episode's commentary track. Her yelp of pain was completely genuine, so perhaps Smith got a bit too method here. Number 4. Having a blast. Doctor Who has been around for 60 years, but it might not have lasted past 6 years if this moment from 1969's The War Games had gone differently. During a scene which required the 3 leads to stand near an explosion, Second Doctor Patrick Troughton was unhappy with their positioning. The fact that the explosives expert on set was missing some of his fingers certainly didn't help matters. To reassure himself, Troughton asked to see a practice run of the stunt. The crew obliged, setting off the explosion, and a huge rock landed directly at the spot where the actors were supposed to stand. If the actor hadn't raised his concerns, the second iteration of the Doctor might have been the final one. Thankfully though, Troughton was confident enough to speak up, and we were saved from finding out whether the actors who play the Doctor can regenerate themselves. Spoiler, probably not. Number 3. Master of Mime. Catherine Tate wasn't known as a dramatic actress before Doctor Who, which caused a good amount of skepticism when she was announced in a recurring role. She soon proved the doubters wrong, of course, with several powerful, emotionally charged moments in her second episode, The Fires of Pompeii. But what wasn't a surprise was that she absolutely nailed the comedy. Her debut episode, Partners in Crime, features her funniest Doctor Who moment, with the 10th Doctor and Donna Noble communicating via mime. It seems like the sort of thing that would be meticulously planned beforehand, but that wasn't actually the case. Tate was given very little guidance on how to perform the mime, with the script simply reading, "Donna does a little mime." Naturally, she asked director James Strong if he had any thoughts on the scene. He didn't. Before turning to showrunner Russell T Davies, who wasn't much help either, responding, "See what Catherine comes up with." And so Tate invented the whole thing on the day. The scene could very easily have been awkward rather than funny, so it's a testament to her comedic abilities that it turned out so well. Number 2. Wartime Wilf. One of the most impactful scenes in Doctor Who has nothing to do with aliens or explosions. It's 2 men having a conversation, and it's brilliant. After escaping Earth following the Master's conquest of the planet, the Doctor and Wilfred Mott sit down, watching the big blue ball spin. After a heartbreaking exchange, Wilf begs the Doctor to take his old service revolver and kill the Master with it before he gets the chance to kill him. As always, the Doctor says no to the gun. During this chat, Wilf recounts his time in the military, telling the Doctor about when he was stationed in Palestine after World War II. Bernard Cribbins' delivery of these lines sounds convincing, and that's because he was actually there serving as part of a parachute regiment. Furthermore, the blizzard of bullets Wilf describes actually happened to Cribbins, who used his time in the army to inform his performance. From soldier to singer to one of the greatest companions of all time. Just another chapter in the extraordinary life of the late, great Bernard Cribbins. Number 1. A bizarre interruption. Like Planet of the Dead, 1984's fifth Doctor serial Planet of Fire was shot in an exotic location. In this case, Lanzarote, one of the Canary Islands. With less control over this location than there would be in a studio, one particular moment was interrupted in the most bizarre of circumstances. In one scene, Perry Brown, played by Nicola Bryant, nearly drowns. Bryant must have given a stellar performance because a passerby thought she was actually in trouble and tried to save her while the scene was being filmed. The man, who just so happened to be a German nudist, was kindly told that he'd ruined the shot for a very popular BBC show. Said man then decided to get some revenge by purposefully ruining more shots, and so he ran through the back of a scene set on the beach. Watching Perry almost drown is a very different experience when you know that a man with his tackle out very nearly ruined the whole thing. And that concludes our list. If you think we missed anything, then do let us know in the comments below, and while you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe and tap that notification bell so you never miss a Who Culture video again. Also, head over to Twitter and follow us there, and Instagram as well, and I can be found across various social medias just by searching Ellie Little Child. Don't forget to also look out for Sean Ferrick too, and Dan the Meegs as well. I've been Ellie with Who Culture, and in the words of Riversong herself, goodbye, sweeties.